This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Inbox at 5:30. Still an opportunity to contribute if you hit Gaardsy's email, jg@kfan.com. We've got a couple of interesting, if a bit discouraging, A-section developments to get to after the top 5 at 5. But first,
can I get a flyover country ruling from you as someone who is not one of us on how offended I should be and we should be as a one of us? So SportsCenter, ESPN made a big announcement today that they're doing like a 50-state, 50-day tour of SportsCenter.
Oh, we're one of the 50 states.
We're represented.
Okay.
It's starting June 27th in D.C. with your guy, Scott Van Pelt.
Okay.
And our day is Wednesday, July 30th. Well, let me give you a couple of examples. Like the July 22nd in Massachusetts, they're broadcasting live from a Cape Cod League baseball game. The Wareham Gatemen and the Chatham Anglers.
That sounds actually pretty good.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
Local angle, a little bit different. Missouri, they're going to be at the Neshoba County Fair.
Sounds rich.
New Hampshire, the Hot Air Balloon Festival.
That's brilliant.
So you get the point of kind of what they're trying to do. They're coming here Wednesday, July 30th, and the hook is WNBA Finals rematch, the New York Liberty versus the Minnesota Lynx. I feel like they're trying to sneak in another Liberty game. I think Kathy Engelbert made a call and said, hey, I'd love to wear that dress again. This time in Minnesota. Like, it's good the Lynx are being featured, don't get me wrong, but they have a lot of other games in July and in August. Did it have to be the New York Liberty game?
I think, yeah, I would call this a reach.
Too sensitive?
But I'm not surprised because you're very sensitive about these sorts of things.
That's why Brian KFAN text line.
Well, I would say I'm more disappointed because the other items aren't necessarily tied to mainstream sports stuff.
Right.
That's what would disappoint me.
Nebraska, the Cornhusker State games. Yeah. Don't know what that is.
Well, I don't know what that is either. You could argue, though, that people will pay more attention to this because it's juicy. It's the rematch of the WNBA Finals from a year ago, correct?
Yes. I guess.
I think you're being way. I
just don't think that's. I mean, it's Minnesota, but it's not like just Minnesota.
No. Well, yeah, I get that. You're saying you think they're just doing it for the New York part.
I do.
And they're pretending.
Yes.
Is the game played here or there?
It's here.
Well, there. It's about us then.
I'm skeptical. Not sure I'm buying it. By the way, Nafisa Collier today, according to...
What's the date of that?
July 30th.
I won't be back anyway from vacation, so I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care. Associate head coach Eric Tebow today did a media availability for the Lynx.
Yes.
Talking about Nafisa Collier's back injury. She left the last game. Said she was feeling decent today. It's something she's dealt with before, so just trying to get her feeling good. The Lynx don't play until Saturday against L.A.
Did he have anything to say about Caitlin Clark?
I don't know if he was asked about that.
Okay.
Don't know
if
he was asked about that. I want to get a quick Kevin Durant update. We should have had a daily sounder made for that.
Yeah, we actually should.
But really, the sounder is always Shams, and he's basically on ESPN, every moment now because it is Game 6 of the NBA Finals tonight. Oklahoma City Thunder looking to win.
I'm guessing the Thunder are favored by 5 tonight.
Let me pull up. I've got 6.5 on ESPN.
6.5? So does that 6.5 mean they don't think Halliburton's going to play, or that it doesn't matter and they do?
I think it doesn't matter really all that much. They were favored. They've been pretty consistently favored by at least 5,
yeah,
I think, this entire series. And he is going to try to gut it out, by the way, with his leg injury. He's going to try to gut it out. Saw pictures of him warming up or videos of him warming up a little while ago. But Shams basically, given his daily Kevin Durant update, and I want to pull up the exact quote from when he was on with McAfee. Man, McAfee tweets a lot. It must be nice to have a full-time social media person that can tweet out clips of the show over and over and over again. I can't even find it. I should have found it before. All right, here we go.
You found the nugget?
Well, we're getting to Shams. Bust family. Kevin Durant has leverage because he has only 1 year left on his deal. 3 preferred destinations are still the Spurs, Heat, and Rockets.
Well, is this about the alleged 3-team deal that Durant has already rejected?
Well, I did see that, but no, that's not what it is.
Is that source reliable?
It's hard to know.
Yeah.
I say I doubt it.
That was allegedly a 3-team deal where I think
With Brooklyn.
Brooklyn was brought in because maybe the Wolves needed him, but I didn't see the terms of the deal. I just heard it was 3-team and Durant rejected.
That's all I saw, too. Yeah. There was also a Phoenix guy that floated out a deal a couple of nights ago that said the Wolves' offer was Gobert, DiVincenzo, Shannon or Dillingham, and the 17th pick for Durant.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot, and I don't like it.
That's a lot.
First of all, I don't.
So does that mean? See, that what's interesting to me about this is, if that deal is legit or was legit, does that mean we've already vetted the worrying question about whether he wants to come here and we don't care?
Well, I would hope so.
Because, I mean, that's a fairly big hurdle that we discussed yesterday. Or that they don't believe the reports that he doesn't really want to come here. So I don't know.
So Shams today said the Suns have a price threshold that they want to meet in a trade for Kevin Durant.
Well, we're the only ones that might be able to meet it. Miami's got nothing. Houston won't give up anything.
Well, here's what he says.
San Antonio Davey won't give up anything.
He says, I had one team tell me today it's a game of chicken right now.
Right.
The Rockets, Heat, and Timberwolves are literally 1 or 2 pieces away from getting a deal done. So my thought would be, exactly, if that was the deal. Because to me, I wouldn't do that deal if I'm the Wolves.
I'm not sure I would.
I don't love that. Now, I get it. It's Kevin Durant. You're not. I had to explain that to my 10-year-old. He was, doing the old ESPN trade machine, basically trying to, trade Luka Garza for Kevin Durant. Well, it doesn't really work like that. You gotta give them something too. For me, I don't mind the rental player concept either. I'm not sold on extending him forever because I do think you've got to have a bunch of salary cap flexibility moving forward. And you see how these teams are being built. It's 1 really good player, maybe 2, and then a bunch of dudes. And I think the Wolves kind of have that potential with some of these younger guys. So that's my line is with the young guys. I don't really want to give up the young guys, but who knows? So who knows what the other piece would be if that deal was in fact on the table and it wasn't enough. I know.
It certainly sounds like it's going to be resolved by draft night, if not sooner. I hope it's sooner. I'd like to talk about it on Sunday.
You're on Sunday sermons?
Yeah.
It might be tonight. It might be at halftime.
Yeah, that's true. We can come back into a midnight show.
Actually, for that, I probably would. Twins got a much-needed victory. Snapped the 6-game losing streak. And Buck, your guy Byron Buxton, hit a couple of dongs. The 14th multi-homer game in his career. He's homered in 3 straight games. The Twins win 12-5 to salvage at least 1 game in this series against Cincinnati and get back to 500, 37-37, and they will welcome Cato Kalin's Milwaukee Brewers to Target Field tomorrow night.
Yeah, it was much needed is the term, right? It was the getaway day, afternoon game as well.
Yes,
badly needed. We're going to need quite a few more before we can feel like we have stemmed the tide of what's really been going kind of the wrong direction for a pretty significant amount of time.
So the Twins are in 3rd place now in the American League Central, and as I pull up the current wild card standings, still got some work to do. They are the 2nd team out of the wild card, technically 3rd because there's a tie for 3, but they've got some work to do with the Brewers coming to town.
All right. As I said, inbox will be open at the bottom of the hour. We're going to cover a couple of A-section developments, both of them rather troubling in the current political landscape. We'll give you details on those 2 stories and more when we return. Via Amy Hockert, Fox 9, from the Minnesota House GOP, quote, yesterday afternoon, Representative Jim Nash notified the House Sergeant at Arms, State Patrol, Carver County Sheriff's Office of a personal text message received by a constituent who was threatening, that was threatening in nature. The threat was not aimed at any particular lawmaker, but the message did include a threat of violence at the Capitol. The individual was questioned, arrested, and held pending an appearance in court. The sergeant's office is not aware of any further threat to staff or members of the legislature. If we go a little further away from the great state of Minnesota, we also have this. Apparently a congressman named Max Miller said that I think he was driving with his family. This was in the D.C. area. Miller is a congressman out of Ohio, and he was basically run off the road by another vehicle, so a person driving another vehicle. And at some point, Miller says that individual was brandishing a Palestinian flag. Sounds like it was a very hairy, dangerous situation. And as a reaction to that story, a statement has been released, a joint House Democratic leadership statement on political violence. This is from Democrats. Now, the individual here was a Republican. We condemn in the strongest possible terms the attack on Congressman Max Miller and his family and are thankful they are safe. The rise in political violence in the country is unacceptable. This is a moment of crisis that requires Congress to act decisively in order to ensure the safety of every single member who serves in the People's House. For the short term, at least, shouldn't it be required that every incident like this is met with a statement first and foremost from the opposing party? Even more important than the party that person is a part of. I can't emphasize that enough. Now, does that solve everything? And does that mean we're going to, it's all going to be kumbaya? Of course not. But rather than going to your separate corners and saying, well, you guys didn't say anything when our guy got... If you could just go forward with, we're forgetting whatever we did in the past, and for at least this period, every time there is a legitimate threat that has been recognized as a real threat, a real danger, we're hammering it. We're making the point that even if, we are Jets and they are Sharks, in this situation, it does not matter. Now, there may be people who have more information about information about precisely what took place, but I do believe it was in the Washington, D.C. area that this happened. And how dangerous it got, I'm not sure that I know. And I'll reiterate. Statements are simply words. They don't necessarily indicate a new era of, quote unquote, lowering the temperature. Doesn't mean any of that. I'm not naive. But as a minimum, I'd say this is exactly what you need to hear, especially at a time like this where everybody's kind of on edge, right? In the state of Minnesota, we're on edge, especially. For sure. And nationally, folks are on edge. That every time, if possible, individuals or leadership from the other party condemns this in the strongest terms possible. I think it's not much, but I would say it's a start, don't you?
As I say to my kids when I ask them to do something easy, this is an easy one. This is an easy one. And translated, it should be the bare minimum. We're not asking a lot of extra. We're not asking a lot more, but the easy stuff should be the easy stuff. And I would qualify as the easy stuff.
100%. Let me see as we still have a couple minutes here before the inbox will be opened at the bottom of the hour. This story is a Hill version, Hill.com. Miller said, Representative Max Miller, as I said, out of Ohio, said he was run off the road by a, quote, deranged man who waved a Palestinian flag in his direction and lobbed death threats before driving away. He recounted the incident in a video posted to X, pledged to hold the individual involved accountable, saying, I will not hide in the face of this blatant anti-Semitic violence. As I was driving to work, some unhinged, deranged man decided to lay on his horn and run me off the road when he couldn't get my attention to show me a Palestinian flag, not to mention death to Israel, death to me, that he wanted to kill me and my family. He submitted police reports to the local police and the U.S. Capitol Police as well. In the video, he said, "We know who you are, young man, and the police are going to be paying you a visit." In fact, Rocky River Police Department confirmed that Miller called the station Thursday morning to report a road rage incident, came to the station this afternoon to give a written statement. Capitol Police also notified. What I haven't heard is whether anybody, if they found the alleged perpetrator yet, if they're still looking, whatever the case may be. But we're at a point, for all the obvious reasons, because of what took place last weekend here, that everybody's antenna is up. And we talked about, and should be, and we talked about this with Kessler yesterday. The assumption is there are going to have to be all kinds of changes to safety procedures at the Capitol, at the state Capitol itself. And I know another part of the discussion is addresses were too readily available online, home addresses of reps. And that's already, I think, that process is already has been changed in a lot of cases. Now, we're in a world in which people are very clever, even if it's not, addresses are not readily available to them, about getting addresses, correct?
Yeah.
But so I think we have to keep that in mind. I don't think this eliminates that problem in terms of privacy, but it's back to, don't make it as easy for people as it apparently is right now. All of that makes sense. And look, how bad this was in being driven off the road, I have no idea. If it's as bad as advertised, it's bad. But because it's all context, right? Because of what took place here last weekend, everybody's antenna is up. So stuff that might not have gotten as much attention, particularly if it ends up being concluded that there was not necessarily a significant threat. Time like this, that's going to change. Everybody is going to think the worst, and that goes back to the Minnesota House GOP, the Jim Nash story, notifying House Sergeant at Arms, State Patrol, and the Carver County Sheriff's Office regarding this personal text message. All of it is being taken a lot more seriously because we're all sensitive to it right now. And we'll be curious to see where that story goes, given that he has said there was a questioning and an arrest. What happens after the court appearance, what kind of charges might hold up, et cetera, et cetera. So that's sort of where we are there out of what we like to call in the business the A section, unfortunately. Let's see what else we were at. Oh, I had one other text. This is totally unrelated. This is from Julie out of Burnsville. Since Minneapolis restaurant Boucheron, am I pronouncing that right? Boucheron?
It's a fancy one, right? It's a big one.
Just won the James Beard Award for Best New Restaurant nationally, I believe. And Karen Tomlinson won Best Chef Midwest of Muriel Restaurant in St. Paul. Is there any chance you'd have Andrew Zimmern on ahead of his annual state fair appearance to talk about the state of food in Minnesota? I believe he was one of the MCs of the awards, too. Thanks. Very possible we could try to do that. He is, I think, the last several times we've had him on, has made it clear that the improvements from a cuisine standpoint, from his perspective, in the last 20, 30 years is pretty dramatic compared to what it once was. But that's good. Have you been to Boucheron? Yeah, am I pronouncing that right?
I have no idea. And
Boucheron.
No, I haven't. Of our top 10 restaurants, I may have been to
4 of them
one
are
or
Arby's?
two.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I got you.
Not my scene, not my style.
Right.
I don't think I'm for them. The food is great.
Where is Boucheron?
I have no idea.
Downtown Minneapolis?
I saw the headline and thought, there's another restaurant
Northeast,
I'll never eat
Northwest?
at. Yeah.
Okay.
Zimmern, part of the Taste for the Tour again that we always help out with.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's coming
in
up.
about a month. So
Hope I'm back from vacation.
if you're back from vacation, we'll pop them on the hotline and you can talk about the food.
We'll come back with the inbox. Dr. Dan's inbox. I promised earlier a Caitlin Clark follow-up. I promise you, we will get to it, even if it's sometime between 6 and 6:30. Don't go.
Head back to the 50s at the Minnesota Street Rod Association event June 20th through the 22nd at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. You can enjoy the classic car marketplace, T6 flyover, the great race, cruise and art craft fair, and so much more. Head over to our contest page. That's your shot at a pair of tickets, KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Let's get to this very special edition of Dr. Dan's Inbox as we get into really like the last hour of today's controversial program.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Quick aside, yesterday I came very close to making a stop at Snuffy's. Hadn't been there in a while.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll admit, my hankering on this particular day, for whatever reason, was for tater tots.
Yeah.
Now, for a while, they had them. Snuffy's had them. But before I went in, I made a phone call, asking, do you still offer tater tots? And the answer was no.
Really?
They're now, I think you can get like waffle fries. I think you can get curly fries. But for whatever reason, they're not doing tater tots right now. So I'll ask this question again. Among places where you're trying to move fast, not sit down necessarily for, a 4-course meal.
Yep.
Who even offers tater tots in 2025?
Man, well, Snuffy's, that's devastating news.
Me too, because I love their tater tots.
Yes, they're great. We hadn't been there.
But it must be they're not that popular, though. Or people must like curly fries more.
The waffle fries are pretty good.
And they're all good,
Yeah.
but I'm big on the tots.
Me too. I'm doing my part.
What fast food places offer tots? Now, I do know Dunkin' Donuts offers tots.
Do they?
Yeah, I didn't love them, that they're okay in a pinch.
Yeah. If you just need a tot fix.
Yeah, it was
They'll
almost
do.
like they were more in the shape of like, they're almost flatter, like almost like little.
Like rounds, we call them.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah,
Whatever
rounds.
you call them. But I do need to know if there is, maybe it just doesn't exist. I know Arby's doesn't have them.
Right.
Does Culver's have tater tots?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I'd get those when the kids want to go there.
I got to believe they're just not that popular because it just doesn't seem like there's very many places to do it. But that's what I need to know. If you can help me with that, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. And don't tell me a restaurant like 30 miles from here. I'm just talking about in the metro area where you can get something to go. What's available to you to get tots. It's
30
quick
Bales
in
and
and out.
Hopkins. That's the old Big Ten. They used to have great tots.
Is that true?
And I think one of the owners is still there.
Okay.
So maybe they brought tots onto the menu.
Well, I'm around there a decent amount,
Yeah.
actually, so that would
That's
be
why
okay.
I threw it out there.
Although then, but there you gotta park. It's doable, I guess. I gotta be prepared to have some hassle if I really want the tot, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the things that need to line up.
Well, I'm very demanding, as you know.
The mileage, the radius, the parking situation.
Sonic, but I don't. I think Sonic is vastly overrated.
Well, and the
myself.
closest
And
Sonic
there's
to
not-
us is the old Southtown area, which
Exactly
that's
right.
not in your radius
That's
now.
kind of far right now. Burger King has tots. Is that true?
I don't know.
Huh.
The closest Burger King to us is now at Culver's. Historically.
Shake Shack has tots?
Hold on. They do?
Are you serious? Well, that case closed then.
I thought they just had the fries that you could put a bunch of stuff
That's
on.
what I thought too. I interesting. Well, we'll try to figure that out. Meantime,
I can't read a letter now. I need to look at ShakeShack.com. While you talk,
God, I love their burgers.
they're unbelievable.
I honestly, there's no burger I'm not saying it's the greatest burger ever. There is no burger right now, or for many years, that I enjoy as much as that. And it is pretty quick. You can get in and get out pretty fast.
I was with my oldest in Woodbury a couple of Sunday nights ago. He was watching some friends play basketball.
Yeah.
And on the way home, it was about dinner time, and I almost stopped at Mall of America with him just to get Shake Shack. That's how when you're, and that's not even like, you're on $4.94.
What do you get? See, I don't even get, I get a single with cheese only. That's it.
You have more discipline than me.
That's all, and that's all I need from me. That's it. Now, I'm sure I would love a double even more.
I usually
Just try to show some discipline.
Yeah, I think I usually get the Shack burger. I guess I just get the regular one.
Okay.
Their Chicken Shack is also very good.
I've never had it. It's
I
good?
like their Chicken Shack.
A number of people are saying don't sleep on the potato olays at Taco John's, that they are very close.
Those are good.
To Tots. I can't tell you the last time I've been at Taco John's.
Well, you're missing out. I don't see Tots at Shake Shack.
Yeah, somebody was just trying to get me going there because they know I like Shake Shack.
They've got fried pickles.
Probably the same person who said Candlestick Park is still up. Same people.
Which
Anyway,
it's not.
You got some letters?
Dear Dr. Dan, it's been a bumpy ride the last few weeks, but our big win today, and we're back within one game of the last W card spot and still have 88 games to play. It's a lot of baseball. I know I've had some ups and downs in my career, but I feel the best I've felt in years. I'm ready now to pick up my teammates who have dealt with some injuries of their own. As Kay Puckett once said, hop on my back. Dr. Dan, do you believe we can persevere and that I can lead this team to a postseason berth? Sincerely, B. Buxton.
B. Buxton's been one of the bright spots, right?
He's been unbelievable.
The only time he was out for an extended period was the concussion, right? There hasn't been any other, pulled muscles. Meanwhile,
Don't think so.
Our third baseman, we haven't even talked about that much.
Royce Lewis? He's
out again. Is he not? Isn't he still on the injury list?
Yeah.
Another re-aggravated a muscle. It's always in the ninth inning, I feel like, of a meaningless game. He pulls up lane.
Or the first at bat of a season.
Yeah.
Or spring training.
That's true, too. That's true. I didn't want to explore this subject today because I wanted to devote a little bit more attention to it. But, again, it's late, June 19th. So, and I know Twins fans are going to hate even this thought, but I am very close to saying, especially depending on how the next 3 weeks go, I am very close to saying that the Twins should sell everything before the trade deadline this year.
Just strip it down?
Strip it down, and maybe if you, in return, you get a bunch of young talent, a bunch of extra draft picks, cash to take care of some of that debt that we got going, maybe that actually, hastens the process of a new bidder coming forward or the existing ones being interested in the team. I know it's a concession we hate given the approach that ownership has taken, but there's a part of me that wonders whether we're kidding ourselves here and let's just strip the thing down, and anybody with talent that you have a chance to get something in return, like young players, go ahead and do it anyway. And if you do it right, hopefully the ownership group, the next one, will be encouraged by that and saying we got a chance to be good in, 2028.
We could get a Shack Burger box that has 12 of them?
No. Is that right? A Shack Burger box?
Yeah.
12 burgers?
Yeah.
What's that run?
Let's see. Start order. Pick up.
Will they deliver it to us?
Well, I'd say you want delivery. I'm just saying in general we could pick this up at some point.
That's
and I
true.
got to find Minnesota.
Yeah, but here's the rub. That burger being right out of the griddle, off the griddle,
makes a difference.
Eating there makes a big difference to me. It really does. It's one of those, there's some foods I can handle if you lose a little of that warmth, but I think their burger, there's nothing like that burger right off the griddle.
I agree. I always forget we have the one in Edina, too, right down
We do.
here.
That's the one I go to. When I go to it, some is after enough set. I just go straight down there, and not always, but occasionally.
Man, I
after taping.
I go the other way.
You go the other way to Popeyes. And I think, what's unhealthier?
Popeyes, for sure.
Popeyes, burger, red meat's not very healthy for you, allegedly.
But the deep fried, and it's not
right.
good.
The coating.
Sometimes I get the mac and cheese if it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't. $82 for the 12, for the Shack
That's
Burger
not bad.
box. No, something to think about. Enough said's tomorrow. I'm just saying. You can call ahead.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
How much lead time do you need?
I don't know. Probably not that much. Those things fly off the grill. Dear Dr. Dan, I recently came into a small sum of money from a recent business endeavor and understand that this current segment, Dr. Dan's Inbox, is and usually is looking for a sponsor. Can you give me your best 60-second sales pitch on how a sponsorship would benefit me? Jay Buss.
Not sure I understand the question. Say that again?
Well, Jay Buss
Just
got like $10 billion.
Right.
Has some extra money.
Not Jerry. He's passed on.
He's passed away,
This would
2013.
be, in this case, you'd be
Jeannie.
talking about Jeannie. Okay.
Understands that this segment, Dr. Dan's Inbox, is looking for a sponsor.
Okay, I see.
With the extra money,
I see.
could, brought to you by the
Well,
Lakers, be worth it for her.
Here's the thing, and this is, I'm hoping we get more details as the days go forward. J-Bus is retaining 15% ownership, and I was told, at least according to what's been written, that this is not going to be another M. Cuban situation where he was led to believe, or people thought, that even once he sold majority stake, he would still be able to run it. That in this case, it is in writing that J-Bus will continue to be the governor, representing the Lakers, one would assume, at Board of Governors meetings, the opportunity to vote yay or nay, for example, on the Wolves ownership transition. And that what I don't know is how many years that's locked in. Because the presumption is that if you are a trillionaire, like, I can't remember the name of this guy who also is Dodgers guy.
Mark something.
Exactly. That if you're going to pay this kind of money, $10 billion, you want it. You want all of it. You want to make all those decisions. Now, maybe that's the only way she would sell, and they were willing to make that trade-off. But I would think, at this point, I'm not sure J-Bus would need... She doesn't need any more money, does she? We would love the sponsorship. We would love if she'd be willing to sponsor a bit on the show. A lot of people also are viewing this as the end of an era when, quote-unquote, families might own a professional sports franchise. Now, in the case of her father, the other J-Bus, I don't remember. I thought wasn't he in the car business? I thought he had another business. Maybe I'm wrong, where he first got his wealth. But it is, and so I don't think anybody will look at the buses and saying, well, it's like a mom and pop operation exactly. But in some ways, they say, in terms of a lot of the extras that a number of these franchises are going to regarding scouts and nutrition and all, that the Lakers were not as progressive as some, and that's where they tried, indeed to save some money. The assumption now is that's all changed, and that I do lament the days when families, even wealthy families, are out of this thing. Now, I don't view the poll ads the same way, I must admit, but I don't remember how much money. You told me yesterday what J-Bus bought the Lakers for.
It was $67.5 million.
Well, you got to have a pretty good amount of money there, but now you got to be you got to be a billionaire, right? We've all agreed. You
Yes.
got to be a multi-billionaire, it feels like at this point. And to a certain extent, I think then the teams feel more corporate, a little colder than when you could sort of identify. J-Bus was an identifiable face, the father. J-Bus, the daughter, an identifiable face. More so, I think, than what we're seeing. Because who's the identifiable face for the group that bought the Celtics?
Right.
I don't think there is anybody. Aren't some of these equity firms too?
Yeah, they are.
So it is a whole new era.
Bus, it looks like, was real estate guy with Frank
Oh, he's a real
Mariani.
estate guy. Okay, all right.
First purchase was the Los Angeles Strings in World Team Tennis. And then in 79,
okay.
Lakers, Kings, the
yeah.
Forum. And a 13,000-acre ranch in Sierra Nevada was part of the deal. So
13,000 acres, like the Jack Kent Cook owned?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Two teams, a building, and a ranch.
And a ranch.
For $67.5.
That sounds like a bargain.
It's equivalent today, according to Wikipedia, which is always right, to $290 million.
290.
Yeah, which is still a good price.
Popeyes has tater tots?
I don't think so. Do they?
People might just be making this
I
stuff
wouldn't
up
have missed
now.
that.
Somebody said, Dave from Rosemount.
I wouldn't have missed that.
That Popeyes tater tots are not bad.
Well, maybe I'll find that out tomorrow.
You clearly will, based on your history.
I got a text. Our neighborhood-ish on the way home, Texatonka Bowling Alley, Texas Avenue, Minnetonka.
Oh, they have tater tots?
They have tots. I looked it up.
Okay.
$7.50 for a nice side of tots.
Yeah,
And
but you want to get a
bowling
sandwich with them. I mean,
maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, I'm sure. Well, hold on. I'm sure they have sandwiches.
They got sandwiches?
They've got some wraps.
Raising Cane's has tots?
Do they?
All these places have tots. I didn't know.
I haven't been to Cane's in a while.
We don't have one within 20 miles of us either out
Not
west
really.
here. What's the closest Canes to us here? Is it University of Minnesota?
Yeah, probably Dinkytown.
Yeah.
They have a grilled cheese at Texatonka Lanes.
Oh, that doesn't sound bad.
That's your meal right there. Grilled cheese. You know it's good too. A bowling alley.
What kind of bread?
I don't know. You can find it.
Wheat. Pumper. I want wheat or pumpernickel. I don't want white bread on a grilled cheese.
I don't think Texatonka has pumpernickel.
All right, fine.
It might. I'm not sure. I don't want to profile Texatonka bowling alley, but I'm not sure a lot of bowling alleys are carrying pumpernickel. Maybe you could bring your own.
It's time
Possible
for
setup.
Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Let's try to squeeze in another letter. Dr. Dan's inbox is definitely taking a turn today.
This whole thing is, now I know why you and I don't go to dinner very often. I think that's what it is. Dear Dr. Dan, I hope you've been doing well. I've been staying busy adding rocks to my cylinder. That's a callback. Wow. Man, time flies. Anyway, wanted to chime in quick about the Venmo situation. It's not about the dollars associated with the Venmo account, but it is what the dollars associated with the Venmo account represent.
Yeah.
That from Kay Cousins.
Yeah, that's... By the way, did he show up for mandatory minicamp for Atlanta? I never even followed up on that story.
I know he's got his kids camp tomorrow. I saw that on Instagram.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No. That's a callback if you missed it. We talked early about the fact that, on the gambling front, the number of death threats that players are dealing with, we certainly went back down that road when the Bailey Ober story broke last week. And apparently it's more routine than it's ever been before. But we also learned via one of the stories that's been written about this phenomenon is that in some cases, bettors, one would assume bettors, or maybe, if you're playing chess, maybe they're just they're calculating to try to scare people, the particular pitcher or hitter, whatever the case may be, is if they lose money, they get a hold of the Venmo account of said player, or in this case, it was actually golfer, and they say, I lost $13,000 because you bogeyed 17. I want my money. You can Venmo me. Here's my Venmo account. And then occasionally, if a bettor wins a bet, because that player performed correct, I guess capably, that then there would be a tip offered sent along to said player via Venmo as well, which I had no idea.
Be a nice touch. By the way, M Sauce just texted me to confirm that Raising Cane's does not have tater tots.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I trust M Sauce.
What about KFC? There are no KFCs left.
Is there not one in Plymouth still on 55?
We get your letters every day.
I know the one in Wayzata's long gone.
Simpler times.
Yeah.
We got 2 letters from the
Used
same
to be a
person.
good one on Uptown. The one in Uptown, I remember that the floors, this won't probably surprise people. It's KFC, right?
Yeah.
So part of what you had, the challenge of getting into it, this was right in Uptown when I first moved to town, was that the floors were so greasy you might slip.
Lucky.
It's KFC.
Yes.
It kind of set the tone.
We have a lot of tot terrorism going on, by the way, right now.
I think we do.
There's people telling us where there's tots, and there's not. Imagine driving somewhere thinking there was going to be tots and there were no tots. Could not be me.
I think a lot of these are made up, too, just to get us going. Yeah, sort of
we
like
need
the
verified
candlestick
tot
story.
reports.
We do.
Verified tot reports.
Yeah.
Same individual, same topic, 2 different letters. Dear Dr. Dan, Johnsonville doesn't need Hormel's secret recipe. Hormel's a bunch of Minnesota hacks. Not worth the time for even my bratwurst ravioli. Terrible. That from C. Gerbschmidt. And then this one. Dear Dr. Dan, I was wondering if you've seen my brother, R. Gerbschmidt. Last time I heard from him, he was in a city named Austin, Minnesota. Alpacas, C. Gerbschmidt.
That's another callback to an item you sent my way, indicating a belief that there's some, what's the best way to put it? Sausage on
secrets.
sausage crime, basically, involving stolen recipe secrets, right?
Among other things.
And it sounds as if this is, and now there's a lawsuit, right? StarTribune.com has a story. My guess is it will be one of the most read stories of the next 24 hours. It's got all the elements we're looking for, and perhaps more than anything else, it seems mild and escapist compared to all the other doom scrolling that one might end up being sucked into.
Let's do a couple of walk-offs, and you can have comments on any or all of them. Let's start with this one.
It's time for Dr. Dan's
It's a little longer than a walk-off.
Inbox.
Dr. Dan, I enjoyed my time on your show yesterday, but must admit I made a mistake. And as you know, Dan, as a newspaper man, you have to correct your mistakes. You graciously complimented me on being a fine copy editor. I returned the compliment by saying how solid your copy was and how little editing was required before publication. Embarrassingly, I have to admit, I thought I was speaking to P. Royce. My bad. That from Jay Millay.
Yeah, that would be... Jay Millay, I think, would be... well, he's been in this business long enough that I don't think he'd be confused between the two of us. My guess is he felt the same way about both. Because we both had pretty clean copy. I had the occasional blunder. Some of it... You know the worst feeling for me in the world is waking up out of a deep slumber at 2:30 a.m. and saying, I got the wrong score. Did they catch it? I hope they caught it. And often they did. But sadly, sometimes they didn't. There's no worse feeling because at 2:30, there's nothing you can do about it. Right? And then you can't go back to sleep because you're going, guys, they screwed up the whole thing. It ruined the whole piece. I got the wrong score. Now, I never had the wrong team winning.
That's good.
That would be, I think, another bridge that's too far.
I love that line with the other guy in the press box where he says, we don't have to be right, we just have to agree when they didn't see something.
Right, yes.
Because they were the only two people writing. That was really funny.
Yeah, and quite true.
Couple more walk-offs.
Inbox.
Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
2 letters, same guy. Dear Dr. Dan, the fans won't have to worry about when I'm going to request a trade because I am not coming to Soda. That from K. Durant. Dear Dr. Dan, 23-degree average high temperature in January and a 9.85% state income tax. Not going to work. K. Durant.
Well, I'll say this again. I read a story today, I don't know where it was, basically saying that the Suns owe it to K. Durant to send him where he wants to go and not to send him where he doesn't want to go.
What?
I could not disagree more. Now, as we said yesterday, if you're the Wolves, you can't risk making a big deal and giving up significant assets for a player who's going to be whiny and only 62% committed coming here. You can't take that kind of risk. There are some players I think you could take that risk with. Durant, on the basis of his own history, is not one of them. To me, that's a non-starter. But the notion that at this late date, the team can send him wherever they want. I don't buy the, senior statesman, great player, been around forever, and you owe it to him. What did K. Durant end up doing for the Phoenix Suns? The P. Suns? Nothing. So, no, I don't buy that. At some point, the team has every right to say, we're in trouble. So if we're going to trade away one of our tradable assets, we got to go and get the best deal. And it's not my problem. If the other team agrees to it, ain't my problem. Because guess what? Durant's not going to not show up.
Right.
He might not give you everything. He might not be totally committed, but that's the other team's responsibility to deal with, not the Phoenix Suns.
It's time for Dr.
Actually, this one just came in late. I want to get to it, and then we'll do one more walk-off.
Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every
Dear
day.
Dr. Dan, don't you love women's sports? The actual competition has improved so much the last few years, it's unbelievable. But here's my question. Why all the questions about the stuff that happens on the court, in front of TV cameras and thousands in the arena that happens after the whistle blows? Isn't it supposed to be about the competition? It's not about the other stuff. Who cares what happens to the most popular player we've ever had? Who cares if I carry the home team's foam finger along with my City of New York skyline dress? Who cares about that stuff? And what's your advice on how can we continue to avoid difficult questions? See Engelbert.
Has she ever, even with like a sense of humor, acknowledged the dress blunder?
I don't think she's ever been asked about it.
That's the WNBA. You're probably right.
I don't remember a
You're
lot of her
probably right.
press conferences either.
Not a proper question here. That's not the way we operate in our league. That would
She's
not
got to be
surprise
here
me.
for the Commissioner's Cup, right? July 1st?
Well, yeah, you'd think so.
The final? She's got to be here. Someone has to ask her.
So if she's got a sense of humor, what is she wearing? IDS Tower. Right? Something.
Stone Arch.
Local. Stone Arch Bridge, yeah.
Stone Arch. St. Paul,
Well,
but
it's
close enough.
Yeah,
I,
we'll see.
lastly,
All right.
Dear Dr. Dan, What are we doing here? T-Tots? S-Shack? Is this an F Network podcast on iHeart? A. Zimmern.
That's it. We were inspired by the A. Zimmern concept. Maybe we'll try to get him on sometime soon, even before the Great Minnesota Get-Together, which is how many days away?
I don't know that, but I do know.
It's 3 months.
It's right around the corner. Yeah, it's August 22nd, I think, or August 21st.
So it's June to July.
So it's 2 months, basically.
July to August. It's 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. I think we're doing that math right.
Are we?
I'm working on the schedule already.
Yes, we're 2 months out.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
June to July, July to August.
Summer's over.
Well, by the time you come back, it's going to be like 2 weeks until the
There'll
fair.
be snow by the time I come back. That wraps up the inbox. I will pay off the Caitlin Clark tease when we return.
Fan.
Red Cow Wyzetta Tater Tots.
Oh. That would check out.
Willie McCoy's in Bloomington.
Okay.
Cajun Tots at Blue Door Pub. I'm not a Cajun guy. I'll take your word for it. Man, they're just pouring in. There's a bunch. Devani's has amazing tots.
No, people are just making.
Now they're just trying to get us going.
Yeah. Don't come at me with Devani's. Everybody knows I love Devani's.
Chick-fil-A breakfast has tots?
That's possible.
It's possible. I didn't know if that was
Well, why
true.
would you offer them for breakfast but not for the rest of the day?
See, I don't think I don't view it as a breakfast food myself. For me,
Yeah, I can have it at either meal.
they're tempting.
They're featured in a lot of
Very
hotel buffets that we'll eat at, like on gopher trips and stuff. That's a lot of times tots are available.
Very, very true.
A breakfast potato.
Yeah. All right, where were we? Oh,
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. Yeah. Oh, by the way, our good friend Mike Friedberg has checked in to let us know that the Main Street Bar and Grill in Hopkins has excellent tots. Speaking of Hopkins,
there you go.
mentioned Hopkins earlier. Good to hear from him. And life is still not right without Joe Friedberg. Let's all agree to that. It goes without saying, but sometimes it's important to say. About the same way as I feel about life without Ron Rosenbaum. But that's another story for another day. Caitlin Clark, the follow-up. So yesterday I ranted about this early, and I want to get back to there's a Washington Post story that a couple of times referred to I kind of reinforced the notion that Caitlin Clark is the league's quote-unquote sweetheart, at least in the eyes of the casuals. She kept going back to the casuals, very dismissive about the casuals who really don't know anything about the game. And the only reason that they could possibly be captivated by Caitlin Clark is they only have a casual interest in the game, which I would say, in all honesty, objectively speaking, is asinine, right? Basketball people will tell you that what she is already doing this season, what she did over the course of last season, building after a slow start, is astonishing to more than the casuals, right? She hasn't won an WNBA title yet. She hasn't won a WNBA MVP award, nor did she deserve one last year. But let's just forget all that you don't have to be a casual to be able to see what she seems capable of becoming from a basketball standpoint, beyond the celebrity, already on the basis of the start, which, as we said, isn't just the shooting. A lot of discussion about the logo shooting, but the fact is her passing acumen looks better all the time. The irony is, as much of a gunner as she can be, I think she would prefer to pass on every play. If somebody is open
and is going to catch it,
she's going to find them.
Yes.
It's remarkable.
Her passing's incredible.
But let's say none of that is true. Let's say none of that's meaningful and it's just all about some sort of flash. Isn't that what every league wants? Doesn't every league want the quote-unquote casuals? In all seriousness, does any league say, if you're not a hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool, start to finish, basketball guy or gal, we don't want you? No. How asinine is the hint that, you're kind of cute, all you casuals, you're cute, you've been kind of brought along to this thing. Why would you not encourage the casual? When Michael Jordan was, had arrived in the NBA scene and started doing some of the things that he did he bring along some casuals? When he crossed over, did he bring along some casuals? Yes. Why is that something to look down upon? It's part of that larger issue. It's because that the mentality that was, to me, expressed in that particular story is a piece of exactly why this league still doesn't get it and may not, if it does maximize, it'll be in spite of itself, in spite of that attitude, which almost seems to look down on the casuals. Casuals are good. Casuals bring more eyeballs to your sport. And if they're that good, then the casuals get into it for that very reason, that player is so good or has something so unique to offer that I don't necessarily, in the past, I've necessarily loved basketball, but I do now. There are plenty of casuals that were brought to the NBA game when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson emerged in the same season from their, mythic college basketball game. There are a lot of casuals who watched that game. Why? Well, because it felt like there was more going on here than just a game with those two individuals. They seemed to represent something, right? So why are we offended with the casuals? Because if you want, you can stay in your little bubble and say, almost indicate you don't want any of that. You can do that, but then you can't have your hand out and say, why doesn't this league get better funded? Who are the people who stand in the way of this league with these women getting what they deserve? How hypocritical is that? How disingenuous is that? If we only want it on our terms. Well, if you only want it on your terms, then you're not going to be what you think you can be, and then you should stop complaining about not crossing over. How tough is this? Why is this difficult for so many guardians? It's like the seamheads.
I was just going to say it's like baseball people.
Guardians of the game.
The ball guys.
You have to feel a certain way about our game, and if you don't, we don't want you. It's bizarre.
The casual discussion reminded me of exactly how people talk about us, frankly, but talk about others that aren't by the cage and aren't watching every game and don't understand the nuances of baseball. It's like the exact same conversation that we've had. And like, what? Oh, you guys are here? Okay, cool. Yeah, you're not really ball guys. You don't know what it's like to be in the ball guy fraternity. It's very odd. I don't get it. Because you would think you want the tent as big as it can possibly be.
Yeah, I would think so.
We're always told that in broadcasting. There's a reason why they say broad.
Is it not also audience. True? Here's another thing I honestly believe. Clark represents a phenomenon. I think it has to do with the combination of shooting and passing. But for a lot of people, it's the Steph Curry effect of just somebody who's got range that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay? So in the continuum, isn't this the way it goes? Then I think if you embrace that, it feeds into people going, what's coming next? What's the next one? I can't wait for the next one. And how will that player add to it? And what will be the fascinating piece to what that player offers? Maybe it's the USC kid. If she comes back healthy, whatever. But that should be something, again, that's encouraged because there's always, something, I want to say always, but often something, coming next. That should be
There'll be a lot coming next.
Yes.
The way that sport has grown, I've seen it firsthand in just my 4 years doing games.
Let me throw out this. What if you do come to it as a casual and you like it so much you become a hardcore?
Happens.
It happens. But it has to start somewhere. By being a casual fan. No, I really didn't pay that much attention to it, but I wanted to see what the phenomenon was here. That's not people saying she's the greatest player in WNBA history already.
And that there haven't been great players before her.
No, yeah, that's the other part of it too. It's but what I learned from this story is there's a media component to this too, apparently, and as we said before, there isn't very. I mean, how many times have we had to talk about press conferences where legitimate, if tough but legitimate questions are being asked, and the thing gets shut down? Not answering any more questions about that. That's not what we're here to talk about. It's the only pro league where that takes place. Now, other leagues, there are coaches who will say, I'm not talking about that. But that's different than saying there's almost this resentment of how dare you even ask the question. It's bizarre and ridiculous. We'll wrap things up and prepare you for a very busy show tomorrow, including a very special in-studio guest at 3:30. Details to come.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Getting a couple of unconfirmed reports that Caribou has tater tots. How good is that? Caribou. Nothing like a crispy Caribou tater tot, is there? They've kind of been known for that. I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah, those are great days. The old Brugger's and Caribou combo. Grab some tots on the way out.
So good. So damn good. Want to thank all our letter writers today. Dr. Dan's inbox was open at 5:30. And we want to thank Russo Radio, who joined us to put a bow on the National Hockey League post-season. And a little bit of wild stuff included there as well. Russo joined at 4:30 today. Tomorrow is Friday. We expect Ben Gessling at 4:30. We expect Lavelle at 5:30. And former U.S. Attorney Andy Luger is going to join us in studio to talk about a lot of things. This will be his second visit with us in studio. The impetus in this case, by reaching out for him related to what took place last weekend here in the greater Twin Cities area. And perhaps we'll get into a couple of other issues as well with him. Luger in studio beginning at about 3:30. He asked me via text, because he's got a very busy schedule. He's Andy Luger. How long I think the quote was, how long do you want me? And I said, an hour. And he said, okay. So
enough
hopefully
said.
that'll work
for
both of us tomorrow afternoon. What do we have tonight? So we're done with hockey. We had game 6.
Yeah.
But now that series is over. We don't have game 6 NBA finals, correct?
We do not. Nope.
So that's tonight.
What's tonight? Thursday? We should have Fan Outdoors.
Oh, that's right.
The guy should be coming in right about now.
Fan Outdoors.
6:30 to 8.
I am picking the Pacers to win tonight. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's just because I'd like to see a game 7. How long has it been since we've seen a game 7 in the NBA Finals? I feel like it's been a minute since we've had a game 7.
Could it have been one
the
of
National
the
Basketball
LeBron
Association Finals?
Warriors ones?
It might have been, yeah. I think it's been a while. Now, admittedly, if Oklahoma City's Big 2 perform like they did in Game 5, game, set, match, no matter how healthy Halliburton is, the magical stat for the Pacers is when Halliburton scores 20, they don't lose. And when Halliburton doesn't score 20, they don't. So can he get to 20? Or can he get close to 20 tonight? That's going to be, I think, a significant question. He's going to go. There's no doubt he's going to play. How effective he will be, that, of course, remains to be seen.
Over, under on his points tonight. What do you think?
I'm going to go with...
Best bet of the night.
22.
I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under?
Yeah.
And then that...
No, wait. I'm going to go over.
You're going to go over?
I don't know.
And they got a shot then. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
I'll be there.